I'm finding it hard both to memorize new words in a foreign language and to understand its grammar. What am I supposed to do? Don't forget to subscribe to Lang Explorer to show your support. People say I need to build up the vocabulary and seize the grammar to master a foreign language, but I'm somewhat embarrassed to face the vast difference in grammar from the English one, and it seems an endless task to memorize thousands of words. Can only geniuses be fluent in a foreign language? But don't despair. You're right that you need to know thousands of words to hold an ordinary conversation, and more than 10,000 in case you're planning to study abroad, but you can master it if you get the knack to do so, together with the grammar. Today we'll tell you such secrets. Ranging from beginner to the most advanced level, the most challenging part of learning a language is vocabulary building. No matter which language you choose, it seems almost impossible to have the same vocabulary size as that of native speakers who are estimated to have mastered 20,000 or 30,000 words or more, unless you make years of effort, including spending a few years in a place where your target language is spoken. In addition, one must also master its grammar, which is more or less different from English, and it seems like only geniuses can master it. However, it isn't necessary to acquire such a vast vocabulary at the early stage of language learning. At the beginner and intermediate level, or from A1 to A2 and up to B1 at CEFR, it's okay to focus on mastering vocabulary and grammar commonly used in daily conversation. Not too many words are necessary at that level. On the other hand, from B2 onward, for your social life, you'll undoubtedly need to build vocabulary in your field of expertise and other terms in different areas. Most of the grammar is already learned at the B1 level, so at the B2 level and onward, it's important to apply such rules correctly. In this video, we'd like to explain this in detail. At the same time, we recommend studying vocabulary intensively using a word list appropriate for your level. First, it's important to note that the vocabulary size and grammar skills required will vary greatly depending on your final goal level. For example, let's say your ultimate goal is to be able to hold a daily conversation in a foreign language. In that case, you won't need medical terms like liver or diabetes. But such words will be essential sooner or later if your goal is to live permanently abroad, as sooner or later you'll get sick and be examined in a local hospital. Also, if you're going to study at a medical school abroad or become a nurse there, you'll need to master the medical terms related to your specialty. Patients there will doubt your professionalism if you aren't sure how to say hypertension or red blood cells in the target language. For this reason, it's necessary to set goals as to what level you should ultimately reach and to what degree you should master the terminology, depending on the purpose of learning that foreign language. From now on, we'll tell you about the required vocabulary and grammar skills at each stage based on the 6 levels of CEFR that we've already mentioned. Second, please be reminded that there's a priority in the order of words you need to memorize. Let's say that you've just started to study a new language last week. Then the words you should learn at this stage aren't medieval, muscle, indecisive, or 2 birds with 1 stone, but basic ones like red, blue, eat, and drink. Regardless of which language you choose to study, essential words are used frequently in daily life, and even beginners will be able to understand the content of conversations to some degree after mastering them. In this video, we'll discuss how much vocabulary you need to build for each level and how to master them. Regarding usable language skills, the minimum proficiency required is A2 level. In this case, you won't be able to hold a complete daily conversation yet, but you'll be able to communicate to some extent with locals in restaurants, at train stations, and so on when traveling abroad, for example. We suggest that reaching A2 is a very reasonable first goal for language students, especially if you have no previous knowledge about the target language. First, we'd like to consider the vocabulary size and grammar skills required at this level. Those at A2 can only cover some aspects of daily conversation, but this is still sufficient if the vocabulary size required is not that extensive, such as while traveling abroad. Specifically, A2 students should be able to order food at a restaurant, shop at a supermarket, get a train or bus ticket, and ask for directions without using complicated vocabulary or grammar. They'll learn basic expressions such as numbers and dates, bearings such as east, west, north, and south, colors such as red, blue, and green, and essential verbs such as eat, sleep, open, and close. In addition, you're okay if you know the present and past tenses, and there's no need to learn complicated grammar. The vocabulary required for A2 is about 1,000 to 1,500 words, depending on the language. 1,000 may seem like a lot, but as we mentioned earlier, these are all essential words, so they'll repeatedly appear as you continue to study. It also helps to memorize these words simultaneously by the same sort. For instance, it's efficient enough to learn all the days of the week from Sunday to Saturday when you find the first word by looking up all of them by yourself instead of memorizing each separately in the order of their appearance. Furthermore, it's also helpful to take note of these words and review them, since they frequently appear in the conversational expression book. These words are the foundation to get to B1 and beyond, so you must ensure you master them. Regarding grammar, you should have mastered most of what you have already learned up to this point. The specific items depend on the language you study, but for European languages such as French, German, and Spanish, the basic grammar includes the conjugation of indicative present and past tenses, noun plurals, declensions and adjectives, and so on. If you ensure you have the correct knowledge of the essential grammar, it won't be too difficult to master it from B1 onward. Next, we'll deal with B1, which is likely the medium-term goal for most people. Once you get here, you'll be okay with everyday conversation. Although you don't understand advanced terms such as detective or crematorium, this lack of knowledge won't prevent you from deducing the overall meaning from the rest of the words you can understand. As for grammar, you'll get to a more advanced level, such as past perfect and future tenses, and most other frequently applied items. This level can be the ultimate goal for those happy with daily conversation, especially those who want to move abroad after retiring and enjoy talking with their new friends, as they don't need to look for a job there. The number of words required at the B1 level is approximately 2,000 to 3,500, of which 1,000 to 2,000 are new words that don't appear until A2. The number of required words doubles at each subsequent level, which, on the one hand, may seem daunting at first glance, but on the other hand, many of the words are related to words you've already learned. They're relatively easy to remember, although they're new to you. In the case of English, your knowledge of terms large, long, and wide helps you memorize other words such as enlarge, length, and width. Also, unbelievable is composed of the word believe with the prefix un and the suffix able, so it isn't difficult to understand its meaning if you know these three elements. So, after mastering the words up to A2, those at the B1 level aren't too challenging. Also, it's crucial to use phrasebooks and other resources in parallel since such words up to this level frequently appear. Furthermore, many word lists are available at this level. Try using them while you brush up your reading and listening skills, confirming the meaning of those words you don't understand, as such synergy will accelerate your learning. You'll have learned most of the grammar at this level, although you may make occasional mistakes in conjugating verbs that don't appear too frequently. So ensure you apply such grammatical knowledge to what you say and write, keeping in mind to conjugate verbs correctly and use adequate prepositions, among others. The next level is B2, where you can live a social life. For example, you'll be able to perform daily tasks as an expat with local employees, and you'll be able to understand local news and notices from local governments. B1 is sufficient for everyday life, but at B2, you'll have a broader range of topics and interact more deeply with locals as your language skills are improved. This level is enough if you want to study at a vocational school where sophisticated linguistic skills aren't mandatory. Of course, you must master terms in your specialty if you'll work there. For instance, you need to master the vocabulary on carpentry if you want to work as a carpenter, in addition to general language study. But don't worry too much, as you'll hear such terms almost daily, so you'll get used to them sooner or later. The vocabulary required for B2 is estimated to range from 4,000 to 6,500 words, of which 2,000 to 2,750 are new words that have yet to appear up to B1. The vocabulary has indeed doubled compared to B1, but only a few new grammatical items are introduced at this level and above, and grammar study is mainly a review of what you learned up to B1. And, similar to B1, many words are created based on existing words, so it's not as challenging as it seems. Also, Memrise has word lists up to this level, so you can use them to consolidate your intermediate level vocabulary. In addition, since reading and listening materials cover various topics such as society and science, it'll be crucial to take notes on the new words you find there to ensure you memorize them. Transover is a handy add-on if you want to avoid bothering with dictionaries, as you can see the translation very quickly only by hovering over the word you wish to check. Then, C1. At this level, you'll have the language ability to follow the classes practically at any university or graduate school where you can deal with complex phrases and words you're unlikely to use in your ordinary life. B2 is enough to live a social life, but C1 allows you to understand subtle nuances and use advanced expressions you couldn't handle at B2, showing your proficiency in the language. We estimate that the vocabulary size required for C1 ranges from 8,000 to just over 10,000 words, of which 4,000 are new words you haven't learned yet up to B2. On the one hand, it's likely to find no appropriate word list available at this level, so try making your own glossary and memorizing it while reading C1 level texts by yourself. On the other hand, you need to focus on building your vocabulary through exposure to your target language at this level and beyond, as there's little left to study for grammar. Finally, C2 is the highest CEFR level, meaning you've reached the whole mastership level as a non-native. Although those with C2 still occasionally show some inferiority to natives, this is indeed a level that deserves admiration by natives who sometimes say, "You know that word that even I didn't know." There aren't many situations that require C2, but this can be your ultimate goal if you are of such a profession, like a lawyer or a physician, that demands very sophisticated and complex linguistic skills in comparison with other walks of life, or if you want to work as a professional linguist, such as interpreter or translator. The vocabulary size required for C2 is enormous, ranging from 16,000 to 20,000 words. And even from C1, you need to build up to 8,000 to 10,000 new words. At this stage, some of them appear in daily conversation, but you find many more technical terms that force you to understand their English translations and their meaning. For example, the word light year is an astronomical unit of length referring to the distance light travels in a year, specifically about 5.88 trillion miles or 9.46 trillion kilometers, and one needs to know this concept to understand what texts in this field stand for accurately. You're still slightly behind natives who know between 20,000 to 30,000 words or even more, so don't stay satisfied with C2. But go on studying even further if you want to reach the same level as native speakers. However, no language exam can measure a level higher than C2. At this level, it's extremely difficult to obtain a word list, so you'll have to make one based on expressions that appear in refined editorials and academic papers. Alternatively, you can use a dictionary containing some 30,000 words as a word list and memorize all the words there. Now, let's summarize what we've learned today. 1. Native speakers have a vocabulary of 20,000 to 30,000 words or more. Building such a huge vocabulary is nearly impossible, although some people achieve it after years of effort. 2. The number of words required for beginner level A2 is about 1,000 to 1,500 words, which is okay for some limited conversations such as international travel. Basic and frequently used words such as days of the week, bearings, and color are to be memorized. 3. The B1 level, suitable for ordinary conversation, ranges from 2,000 to 3,750 words, covering those used in daily life, although less frequently used than in A2. You can use phrasebooks up to this stage. 4. B2 level is from 4,000 to 6,500 words, sufficient for social life, and you can use memorize for this level. 5. The C1 level requires about 8,000 to 10,000 words, which is enough to follow university and graduate school classes. Very few word lists are available from this level onward, so you'll need to read complicated writings and make your own. 6. The C2 level is for those who really want to fully master the language as a non-native. You may use a dictionary as a word list. 7. Grammar, you'll learn most of it up to B1, while B2 and above focus on applying what you already learned to what you say and write. Thank you for watching this video. We're looking forward to seeing you in the next one.